Here we are with Samantha Davis, a well-known worm collector.
I don't know what well-known, but...
Everyone tags you, Ives.
Sure,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, this is my worm collection. I have my worm collection in two different areas. I've got the worm collection in the binder here, and then if you notice these little post-its with names of worms on them, that means that the worm is in my worm EDH deck, and that if I wanted to take the deck apart, I could still put them back into their alphabetical positions in the binder. So this is not organized by coolness, it's organized alphabetically, and then within each name of worm, it's organized chronologically by set release.
Okay.
So what I've done is this pile of the green cards over here, these are the worms that are in my deck. So when we get to one that has the sticker, I'll just flip over the one that is in the deck.
So do the green cards go with the pink stickers?
The green and pink, the stickers are
Same
interchangeable.
thing?
The sticker colors are interchangeable.
Okay.
But when there's a post-it, they're one of these cards. And then the red cards are tokens, which are in the back.
Got it.
But they go with the deck. So, I guess, alphabetically, I'm trying to get a misprint or miscut of every printing of every worm card in Magic. And in addition to that, I'm trying to get every known error that could be on a Magic card represented on a worm card.
Okay.
And when I say worm card, I mean it either is worm in the name, worm in the type line, or worm in the rules text. So there's a couple that are only one of the three, but flavor text only, don't care, picture only, don't care, but name, type line, rules text. So start with Advent of the Worm. This one is just off center. This one is 2 square corners. Then we have Arrogant Worm. I have this one with a line across it. I also have one that's coming from Brazil, which hasn't arrived yet, which is miscut with another card on the top. So I'm excited for that to arrive so I can add it into the collection. Then we've got my Belligerent Whiptail with some inking problems around the name. We've got this one's an NFC. Bellowing Tangleworm. This is one of my favorite worms, actually, because it gives all of my green creatures Intimidate, which is an ability that you don't see on many different types of creatures, and I think that worms with really quirky abilities are the most fun. So I was really excited when I was looking through another Misprint collector's images online and happened to see that they had this card, which they didn't even realize it was a worm because they don't speak Japanese, and I just recognized the art. And so I love this Bellowing Tangleworm with the other card on the side. Then we have Broodhunter Worm. This one shows another card at the top, and this one. These are just off center. There's 2 of them.
Okay.
That's not the back of the card. That's just the second one. These are just minorly misprinted. This one's NFC. So let's see. We've got NFC Canopy Gorger. We have Carnage Worm. This one has a little bit of blue ink here in the text box, but I thought that this Carnage Worm with the white on the top was cooler, so
Yeah.
that one ended up in the deck.
Yep.
The deck is I'm specifically making it as easy to understand when looking at it as possible, so that in a play as written tournament, it plays exactly the same as in a not play as written tournament. And so because of that, I sometimes have a cooler error that would be more confusing, and so I'll put the one that's slightly less cool but not confusing into the deck.
So you're not really taking full advantage of the play as written.
I don't enjoy play as written. I don't want to deal with that.
It's confusing.
These 2 connect, which screws up my alphabetization process. But so I've got this Charnel Worm, which has a little bit of another card at the bottom. Then from the same commander set, I've got these 2 connectors. So this is the Goblin Bombardment with Charnel Worm at the bottom, and then the Charnel Worm with Endrick on the bottom. So we've got the whole worm represented. We have the Cowl Prowler, which is in the deck. I really like this one. This one, I think this is the first I've ever seen of this error. I've seen it since then a little bit on a few lands, but it's normal printed on the top, and then it's blue on the bottom. So it's, I believe, missing a color. Is that right? Or
Let's see. Yellow would be the color that's missing because yellow and blue make green.
that makes sense.
Yep. And is there a hard line in between the
We
2?
looked at it on the
Yeah, there
microscope
is.
earlier and determined that
Yep.
there's
That's not faded. That's
crisp-
actual
a
factory
crisp
error.
line. So I really like this one.
So that was probably water on the press
Okay.
when the yellow was being printed, so the yellow didn't stick, and so
Nice.
you're left with just the blue.
And I like how it's half the card. I usually don't like blue cards. Worms are all 5 colors of magic, but less in blue than everything else, so that might be part of what leads me to gravitate towards worms.
Okay.
But this blue I think is acceptable.
Yeah.
With the Cowcrawler.
It's blue on a green card.
So this is a revised Crawworm. This one's just off center, but at least that means I'm pretty sure that it is factory.
Yeah.
As opposed to these 4, which are my 4 revised NFC Crawworms. I've got this one that has the 4 cards showing with this corner, side, top. I'm now done with collecting NFC revised Crawworms. I think I've got enough of them. 4 seems
And there's probably more
plenty.
out there. Yeah.
Oh, I could get 20 of them if I was willing to pay for each
Wow.
one. I know people who just have them
Yeah.
and have offered them to me, and I don't need more of.
That's something to think that 20 sheets have just been cut like that.
Well, there might be. It's a common. So there might be more than one on a sheet. I don't know.
No, there's not. There's just one on a
There's
sheet.
just one.
Yep.
Oh, well, I know that Zane, for instance, has some that he's offered me, and
Yeah.
there's different people that have them. So these are my 4th edition Crawworms. This one is Alpha Cut 4th. This one is crimped at the top. Like it's harder to see
Yep,
sometimes.
I can see it, yeah.
But this one is slightly square cornered. And then this is my coolest one that I think for my 4th edition,
Okay.
which is a factory cut. It looks sort of like the non-factory revised, but this one's factory, so
Yeah.
like way cooler than the non-factories. Then we've got the Crawworms from what is that? M10. This one's NFC. This one's NFC. This one's crimped at the top.
And that's Russian.
Yes, that's also Russian NFC. I've got a few foreign NFCs in here just
Yep.
randomly. Okay, Crush of Worms. This one is from a pre-con where the back of the card is severely miscut.
Okay.
I've actually got three different cards, most of them with multiple copies, with this exact error from this exact pre-con deck. I've got 2 Tunneler Worms and 2 Roar of the Worms, I believe, in addition to this Crush of Worms, with this exact, like, to the millimeter back error. So they're from the same pre-con sheet, and I've just gotten a bunch of them. So that one, I want my deck to have fewer back errors and more, visible from the front errors, but that's my only really, Crush of Worms, so that one stays in the deck for now.
Yep.
And then Dirt Cow Worm. This one's really cool. So this is my Schmutzpanzer Worm, which makes it way cooler because it's in
Okay.
German and it's a Schmutzpanzer Worm, which is just fun to say.
And it's miscut.
And it's miscut on the bottom, and the back on this one is centered.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
you could
that
play that
one-
unsleeved, and it would still be a misprint and
Yes.
still be not a marked card.
Exactly, but the rest of the deck would not fall under that. So I'd have to
Yeah.
put either everything in sleeves or nothing.
Yeah.
And I certainly would not play my misprints unsleeved. Maybe clear sleeves, but not unsleeved. So that is my absolute coolest Dirt Cow Worm. Then I've got this one, which I got just recently this weekend, which is off-center with a centered front and an off-centered back. So it's not showing another card on the back, but it is centered on the front and off-centered on the back. And then this one is a dark pre-release. So when I say different, one of each printing, I consider pre-release and not pre-release as different printings.
They are.
So this one's just extra dark, which was my only error for pre-release until yesterday when I finally got the pre-release stamp on the bottom Dirt Cow Worm to add to my
Congratulations.
collection. So I would say the Schmutzpanzer Worm and this one are my coolest Dirt Cow Worm errors. And then this Duskdale Worm has 2 square corners. And we've got this one has a splotch on the top. Splotch is the technical term.
That's liquid again that caused that.
And then this is the exact same error, but this one's on the bottom.
Okay.
So these two I sort of see as a pair. I just picked one to go in my deck. I don't know which is cooler, splotch on the top, splotch on the bottom, but
I think the bottom one's, the top one's probably more noticeable because you look at the casting cost first
that's true.
when you're playing a card. So
So
if you
maybe
notice it
maybe
faster,
I'll
that's
switch 'em out.
that's a good
I
thing.
don't know, but for now, that one's in the deck. And then this one is just light printed.
Okay.
So slightly light and slightly dark doesn't excite me personally as much as some other errors do.
Yeah.
Like really light, like albino, or like really dark, like you can barely see the text. I
Right.
think it's really cool, but like if
It has to pop and be noticeable.
anything
That's
that
kind
you
of
have
what
to
you want.
compare next to another card in order to tell there's an error, I just don't care.
Yeah, you don't want to have that reaction where you
Right.
show someone your cool thing and they say, "What is it?"
Yeah, exactly.
If they-
Unless
if they
it's a back
can't tell.
error and it's like, oh, look on the back. Oh, now I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this Elder Scale Worm you can definitely see, but that's absolutely NFC. So
It's still pretty awesome
I do
looking.
have another Elder Scale Wurm. This one has 2 square corners. That's another error that I'm not overly partial to, but it's a great card. I want it in my deck, so
Yep.
So this counts for now.
Sometimes you have to take what you can get.
The Endless Wurm, I don't have an actual miscut, but this one's off center, so someone gave it to me as part of another, like a throw-in and then part of another sale. So got that. Got my Engulfing Slag Wurm. This one has like the slightest of slight crimps at the top. So again, I'd love a better upgrade to this one. This one is my German Engulfing Slagworm, but again, NFC, and I'm trying to avoid NFCs in the deck wherever possible. This is a really cool error. This is an Enlisted Wurm, like this one. This one is just off-center, but this one, it's slightly light printed on the front, but the back, like, really pops.
Yeah, the back looks great.
As far as, I'll show the back of a regular. So, it really pops as far as a color error on the back of the card, with like the silver borders on the back, and really light. So I really am glad I picked this one up. Then, let's see, we've got Follow Wurm. This one I almost didn't buy on eBay. It's got sheet edge, white sheet edge on the side, but the eBay seller had put it against a white like scanner background, and so you couldn't even see it. And I was like, why is this so expensive? Like, I wouldn't pay that much for just an off center.
Right.
And then someone's like, doesn't that show sheet edge? And I looked closer, and I'm like, I think it does. So I'm glad that it ended up actually showing sheet edge. And but yeah, they really should have done a better job of scanning it onto a darker background where I would have bought it way quicker.
Anything contrasting.
Exactly. This one just has like a indent line on the back.
Okay.
Not one of the cooler errors, but sometimes people just either I get them for like $1 or someone gives me them for my collection and I stick them in.
Yeah, they know you collect worms, so everything heads your way.
Exactly. So as long as, I recently got a new binder to make more room, so now it's like all spread out. So now I have plenty of room for new worms heading my way. This one is, I believe,
it's
this one's
dark.
extra dark.
Yep.
And then this is a factory miscut, my Golgari Rotworm. This one would be really cool in my deck, except because the only legendary worm is Grothama, All Devouring from Battle Bond, which is a mono green card. All of my non-mono green worms do not get to go in the deck because of the rules of EDH. So this one's foil, and you can see another card, and I think it's really cool. I was really excited when that one came up on the group. This one is Russian Greater Sandworm. If you saw the Greater Sandworm page before the camera zoomed in, I have an exorbitant number of Greater Sandworm errors. I don't know why there's
that
this
one
many.
Is really cool.
And the really weird thing is that they're all different errors. It's not like a common error that I have multiple copies of. So I've got this one, which I consider my super crimp.
Yep. So that's crimped and cut off by the crimper.
This was opened in a Russian booster pack, but in America. And one would assume, with the way that sheets are distributed and cards are distributed, that it probably didn't go to another case, I'm guessing.
Probably not.
Probably also the case would not have been split between countries. So
Probably
I'm assuming the other half of this card was in a Russian booster pack in America somewhere.
I hope you find it someday.
And it's probably in the trash somewhere, but if I ever found the other half of this card, I would be ecstatic, and I would just totally put them together. This one, however, is the one that ends up in my deck just because this one can't be shuffled, really.
Right.
So this is my example of front color bars.
Wow.
Which is also one of my best errors. I think it's really funny that my best errors are in Greater Sandworm, this random common from Amonkhet. But I love my front color bars, and these two together are the two of my favorite errors that I have. And then, let's see, going through, this one shows a tiny bit of the artist information or copyright information from another card, and it's foil. This one shows a slight more amount of the information from another card. This one shows sheet edge. This one is just off center. This one is a little bit of a square corner that was kind of uncut, kind of cut. Someone gave these people just gave me. This one is a minor ink error on the side.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That corner.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, so we got the minor ink error, and then this one, the copyright is so dark. Like, the ink got messed up on printing the copyright. So compared to all the other ones, this one you can barely read the copyright, whereas all the other ones it's clearly white.
You can see it, yeah.
So these two are actually going to be ones that Kevin has for me that we just never got around to actually doing the trade for.
Okay.
But he has a very dark one and a very light one. So just adding to the, I guess I'll get all of the different errors on Greater Sandworm.
Yeah.
I will add those, and maybe I'll get one more, and then I'll have an entire page of Greater Sandworm errors. All
different.
more or less different, which I think is just really bizarre, because usually if there's a ton of errors on one card, it's a ton of the same error on one card. But that, I don't know. This is my commander, who I finally got a miscut of. Grothama, All Devouring, has an Eclipse stamp.
Cool.
So that is my example of that error.
That makes the deck possible.
Yes. Before I had a foil signed one that was not misprinted in any way, but to play with it at Misprint Con, I needed an actual misprint for my commander, even if it was a little minor misprint. So I put feelers out trying to find one, managed to get one, so happy
awesome.
about that. This Henge Guardian was given to me this weekend. It has, like, on the side, there's a little bit of smudging on the black border on the side here.
Okay.
It's extraordinarily minor, but I also got it for free and don't have a Henge Guardian yet, so I'm glad that I have that to add to my collection. So now Henge Guardian is in fact represented as a dragon worm. The Impervious Great Worm is actually a buy box promo for Guilds of Ravnica, and some of the stores got entire packs of their buy box promos miscut. And these stores, I guess, gave them out normally as buy box promos, and misprint collectors, it seems, have gone, when it's their local store that did that, they would go around and try to trade for the ones or buy the ones that other people got, so they'd have a bunch of them. And so I managed to get 2 regular ones. These are almost the identical error.
Okay.
These came from the same person. And then I decided, you know what, I don't need like 50 million of the same exact error. They were kind of a little bit
There's
pricey.
a lot of them out there, yeah.
I mean, there are not a lot of them. I know of 2 stores specifically. I don't know the names of the stores, but like 2 different people who are at different stores who had their store get a whole chunk of them. So I know at least 2 stores got them. I don't know how many total, but I did specifically go out of my way to try to find a sheet edge one, just figuring that was a little bit different to add to my collection. So I've got these 2 almost identical, and then this one is sheet edge.
That'd be like 11 times more rare than the other ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So I decided that would be good for my collection. So it's slightly less miscut than the others, but it shows sheet edge, so I was happy about that.
Cool.
And then I got this on eBay a while ago, and then I got this one yesterday or the day before. So I think it's interesting that this particular error is on 2 different ones.
Yeah.
The new one is higher. What's it called? More
Saturation?
Minty. No, more minty.
Oh, okay. Condition.
Condition, yes. The condition is significantly better on this new one, but the error seems almost identical. Like, to my naked eye, at least, it
Yeah,
looks
they're discolored
like
at the top there.
an identical error. Of
So they're short on blue at the top is what causes that.
Yeah, but I think
they
it's
look
interesting
more
that,
yellow.
That it happened to 2 of them. So
Yeah. That helps to show that it's a factory error instead of fading.
exactly.
Especially
When
if you
I
got
bought it on
them totally
eBay,
separately.
I wasn't sure, but I got them completely separately, and I was surprised when one of the misprint collectors was like, "I have some worms for you," and I looked at it, I'm like, I have that exact error.
Yeah.
So then this Jotul worm has another card at the top.
Okay.
And then this jungle worm is light printed, but again, it is the only one that I have for jungle worms. So I'm glad
I think I know where there's a playtest card of that.
I have, when we get to the playtest section of the binder, I'll get to the jungle worm playtest cards.
Okay.
But I have the regular ones, and then I consider playtest cards more oddities than misprints, and so they're in a separate section of the binder, not alphabetized with the with
sure,
the rest
yeah.
of them. So we'll get to the end of the thing. I have some playtest cards that'll be there. This Mungo worm is definitely miscut enough that it could be in my deck. But if anyone is reading the Mungo worm and what it does, this is a really awful effect, and I'm not putting this in my EDH deck because it's terrible. Like, as far as drawbacks for cards, Winter Orb's only you. Why would you play that?
Oh, wow.
But the misprint is really great, so I love that. Just not the playability of the card itself. This Nova Blast Worm is NFC. However, it is the only Nova Blast Worm that I currently have. Pathbreaker Worm. This one also has like the tiniest of tiny crimps that I'm fairly sure if I don't take it out of the sleeve you just can't see. But trust me, there is a very, very tiny crimp here. And again, it is in my deck because this is a really great ability that really helps my deck, and I would love a better copy of this that has a better misprint that I could then swap it out for. This Palaka Worm is... What was wrong with this one? Yes, this one is centered front, off-centered back. I got that one this weekend. And then these two are Rise of the Eldrazi NFC ones, and then this one and this one I actually got separately, but these must have been on the same sheet because this is either identical or almost identical cut between the two.
It might be sheets that were next to each other in line.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
also,
multiple sheets get miscut the same way, like
Yeah.
if the alignment guides are off.
But these I got separately, and they are both factory cut. So
Okay. One's a little more severe than the other one, right? Or maybe not. I was just seeing some glare.
It might be a little bit more, but it's like a millimeter.
Yeah.
Like they're very close. I think it's interesting when I get like the Jotol worms, when I get identical errors or very nearly identical errors, but from completely different sources.
Uh-huh.
If I get them together, it's like, oh, well, they came together.
Right.
That makes sense. But I just think
But to have them reunited after
yeah,
who knows how long.
Exactly. This one's interesting. This is my first Palaka worm that I got. The name is very smudged, and then this border kind of comes up closer to the mana cost.
Okay.
Which I think is interesting. So I'm guessing that probably means the border and the name were printed together.
Yep. On the same layer.
And the
We call
text
that
seems fine.
text black.
The text seems fine.
Oh, that's strange. That actually makes the card pretty interesting.
So, yeah, it seems to only have affected this border. Yeah, the top border seems fine. There's a little bit of like black dots, kind of, but mostly it's just the name and the border. So I thought that was interesting. And then 2 more NFCs from Modern Masters 2, and then another NFC that's super, super NFC'd. Okay, so then we've got Penumbra Worm. I've got this bottom crimp, and then I believe the other one is a top crimp. Yeah, this one's a top crimp. And these are some pretty nice crimps as opposed to the Engulfing Slagworm, which was like barely visible crimp. This one's actually like a decent crimp. Then Plated Slagworm is, I believe, double printed. Not in the really cool way where it looks like 3D, fuzziness, but it just
Still looks
very
pretty
dark.
cool.
Dark text. So, yeah, that's my Plated Slagworm. Then we've got Primordial Worm. We have this one showing another card. The one I chose to put in my deck is also showing another card, except it's in English, which I guess doesn't really make a difference on a vanilla creature.
I guess it doesn't.
Really no text to read. So yeah, the difference is this is a different language of this, but maybe I'll swap that out. I don't know. And then this one's cool. Somebody at the January Misprint Con comes up to me and is like, "Oh, I have a Primordial Worm for you. Do you want this?" Like, they seem to think it's worth like nothing, but it's got back color bars.
Oh, cool.
So I'm not sure why they didn't think that was worth
Color
much.
bars are always worth something.
That's what I'm thinking. Color bars are awesome. I mean, it's not quite as glaring color bars as the Greater Sandworm, but I'll take it.
They're there, yeah.
So this is a normal front, or slightly off-centered front, and then the color bars on the back. And then this one is crimped at the top. Then we've got the Roar of the Worm. For some reason I have a lot of Japanese Roar of the Worms. I've got this Roar of the Worm, which is Japanese, showing a little bit of card at the bottom.
Okay.
And then I've got this one. These two are the same error, so I just keep one up and one down. But these are from the same Crush of Wurm deck. These two are...
So that's a pre-constructed deck.
Yes, the Precon with the Roar of the Worm, the Crush of Worms, and the Tunnel of Worm, which is coming up later in the alphabet, all have the same issue. The Crush of Worms I have one of. I have acquired, as I said, 2 Roar of the Worms. And again, it's exactly the same. I just figured one up, one down shows the error. But my prize Roar of the Worm is definitely this one, which shows sheet edge with text and Odyssey is spelled wrong.
Wow.
So I think that one, this is also one of my prides of my collection. I really, really love this one. This one, the 2 Greater Sandworms, and
that one.
And this one. I mean, I've got a couple more that we'll come up with, but yeah. Then we've got this Roar of the Worm. We're now off of the Odyssey printings and onto the Eternal Masters. Shows another card. This one's very, very clearly NFC. Rootbreaker Worm. This one shows another card on top. This one's centered? No, this one's not centered. So, yeah, another card on top. And then this one, I believe, is just off-center. Yeah, this is just an off-center one. And then this I got this weekend, and this I'm really excited about. Because this card has the double printing, making the text appear blurry.
Okay.
But it also is shifted so you can see another card on the side. and it has a centered back.
That's pretty cool.
So
That's another one you can play unsleeved.
I'm
Sure you don't want to play unsleeved?
Sadly, this one's red-green and does not fit in my deck.
Okay.
But, if I could put red-green in my deck, there's a bunch of things that I would,
You'd have a lot more
be
worms.
adding.
Yeah.
Well, at least some really cool ones. But like my favorite pickup of the weekend, this one, I had to deal with an obnoxious eBay seller to get this, but because they wanted exorbitant amounts for like 3 crappy commons foil from Gatecrash that were miscut,
Yep.
and I obviously just wanted this one. And then negotiating with them, they wanted like $50 for it or something, and then like 2 or 3 months would pass, and they still hadn't sold their lot. And I'm like messaging them again, like, will you accept this offer? Will you accept this offer? Until finally we came to an understanding. I don't remember what I got it for, but it was not $50. Then this one shows a little bit of another card, and this one has a ink blotch error on the side here.
Okay.
So I've got a few different errors on the Ruination Worms.
Ooh.
Salt Skitters, these two are roughly the same error to varying degrees of messed up name with some black ink over the name. And people say that this set's misprints are really hard to find, but I've somehow found 2 of these. So I guess this is a common error for this particular card. Just guessing that based on having 2 of them.
Okay.
Sandworm Convergence, I have 2 of them. They're both missing a stamp. This one shows an indent. This one, I think they both show a little bit of an indent. I would again love a better error of Greater Sandworm, but or Sandworm Convergence rather, but I'll take what I can get because this card is amazing, and I have no flyers in my deck because it's all worms, and this definitely helps protect me in the air in my deck. So.
Now I notice you have multiples of most of these. You're trying to get 4 of each one, or?
No, I am trying to get 1 of each printing of each worm card in Magic, and in addition to that, I'm a collector and I like things.
Okay.
So I will be definitely more interested in a different error on the card, even if it's the same printing. Like, for instance, an ink error and a miscut, you could see another card.
All right.
But if it's cheap enough and you offer it to me, and even if I already have it, I'll probably pick it up. But if it starts like a bidding war and someone else seems really interested and I already have an almost identical error, I'll probably let it go to the other person.
Sure.
So and then obviously if I have multiple of them and someone else wants one, then for their misprint collection for some other reason, I'm more likely to want to trade one away if it is a multiple rather than, like a multiple of the same error rather than having all different errors.
Okay.
So I just sort of, I'm a collector. I like collecting.
I'm fond of these.
What?
I'm fond of these. We
Yes.
compete for these.
I've got my blue bordered scale worm. This is not as blue as the one in Jason's binder, which is not a scaled worm. But
Jason's got nice stuff.
It was a mountain? It was some land.
I think it was a mountain, yeah.
It was a land, but this I think is a good example of this error. So I enjoy that one. And then this one shows another card. In Play as Written, this is an 8-mana 0/3.
Ooh, that's terrible.
So everyone would want to play that card.
Yeah.
I do not have any Play as Written cards that get better. I only have Play as Written cards that get
worse.
significantly worse. I would much rather play 8 mana for a 7/6 than 8 mana for a 0/3. But that's just me. I mean, everyone can make their own life choices.
Yep.
This one also shows another card, but significantly less of another card. I got this one first, and then I got this one. If I had gotten this one first, I probably would not have picked this one up, but it is what it is. These are scaled worms from Conspiracy, and this one, does this show another card? This one's just off center.
Okay. I don't have
and
any
then this-
misprints of that artwork either, so.
This one's crypt.
Okay.
And then this is probably the pride of my collection so far. I got this because people know I collect worms, and someone was looking to get rid of it, and they were like, "Hey Samantha, I hear you collect worms. We've never talked before, but are you interested?" And I'm expecting them to show me some like crappy worm cards.
See, you're
and
well
then
known.
They show me this, and I'm like, jaw drop, floor, like holy crap. So this card is a segmented worm that is has the upside down back of a magic card printed on it, and then the back of the magic card of the actual card is oriented correctly for the segmented worm. So it's like a regular normal printed segmented worm that has an upside down magic back printed on top of it.
Pretty awesome.
So I've heard there's various different worms with similar errors, some with another card on the back, some with regular magic back, some with different card, like some with different things. I don't know if there's a white back version or something, but basically there's other Wurms that also have similar errors, which I would obviously love to get my hands on. This is the one that I have thus far.
Is there a 5th edition uncommon Wurm?
I believe there is. I know Jotel Wurm, when I looked it up, was one that in theory could be on one of the sheets. I don't remember which. I'd have to look up which sheets. But because I don't have them organized by chronology of sets, I have them organized by name. So I can't just go through the collection and find that.
And this is Tempest. So what rarity is that one?
Tempest.
Obviously, it's not marked.
I don't know. I can look it up, but I don't really want to do it on the video.
It's not a common. I remember that.
So this one, Serpentine, this is from the recent Unstable. Unstable had a number of errors. However, this particular error, I think, is really rare. This has hollow stamp material on the top. So I don't know if that helps with like shininess.
Okay, I can see a little bit, yeah.
But yeah, it's got a line of hollow stamp material right where the border meets the card, going a little bit down into the green. And I've seen that in other ways on other cards, but not very often. And I haven't seen it on any other uncards. So I think that's really interesting. This is definitely my most interesting Serpentine. This is also not in my deck because it needs a host creature to be playable, and there are no host creatures in my deck, and that seems really not worth to put a random host creature in my deck just for the off chance of maybe having it stick together in my hand with the Serpentine.
Out of 100 cards.
Yeah, that seems like a
not
bad
likely to
play
get
decision.
too specific.
Also, it's not legal in EDH because it's silver bordered. So there's a number of reasons why I'm not playing that. This one is missing a stamp. This one, these are my Wurms. See how it's like Wurm, except it cuts off the part of the M to make it a Wurm.
Okay.
Because it shifted that way. So these are my Wurm collection. And then this one's almost a Wurm. It's like between a Wurm and a Wurm.
Yeah.
So these are just my shifted, showing another card, cutting off the text ones. But this one with the hollow stamp material is definitely my rarest one among the Serpentines. Then Siege Wurm, we've got some dirty rollers here.
Okay.
And then this one is foil showing another card, and then this one's not foil showing another card. And also, as I said, I want each printing, so this one has Origin Ravnica, this is M15. And then the new printing, which I'm very excited because I actually own the original artwork for this card. I'm very excited by this error, which is the one in my deck. This one,
that's so cool.
It appears the border and the name were printed together on this one, and it appears without black ink, at least for the very top of the card. At least that's what I interpret the error as, because so I have my half silver bordered card in my deck, in my thing, because we've got the silver bordered. But
I really like that it doesn't have a card name on it.
I love how it doesn't have a card name at all. But I can assure you it is in fact a Siege Wurm. And this one I just thought was so cool, and these are awesome. I could have put either of these in my deck, but this one just won.
Yeah.
This one out.
Easy.
Because I love this art, and I love that error. And then we've got Sifter Wurm. This one is minorly crimped. And then I recently picked this one up, which is a fully centered front and a miscut back.
Okay.
And this is also a foil. So while I like front errors more than back errors in my deck, I think this error just is way cooler than the crimp. So this one made it into the deck. Then we've got my Skeletal Wurms. This one is, I think, just off center. Off center, maybe a little bit twisted. Yeah, it's just not super exciting. It's foil though. These two are NFCs, which apparently were done with different cuts, but they're NFCs. This is the Soul Swallower. I actually got this one from the same guy who sold me the double back segmented Wurm. So he shows me that, and he shows me this, and I'm just like, holy crap, this guy is showing me like amazing stuff. And then the Endless Wurm that was just like minorly shifted. So it's like in the degrees, like insane jumps of degrees.
Whatever
of coolness.
price point you'd like to purchase at.
Yeah. So this one I think is really cool because it's a full crimp that cuts the bottom of the card off.
Oh, that's cool.
So that is that's my only example of that particular type of crimp. And then this one, I believe there's a line down the back of this one. Yeah, there's a line down here. It's like an indent line.
Okay.
Down the side. I'm not going to bother trying to show it to the camera. It's not that exciting compared to the other soul swallowers I have. It's just not that cool. This one's way cooler. And then we've got the 2 NFC soul swallowers, and then this one is another crimp, except I found this one would probably be easier to shuffle than the cutoff crimp. So even though the cutoff one's cooler, I put this one in the deck. And then this is actually a pre-release one. And then this one is a pre-release one. You can see it's still in the packaging for the pre-release in its sleeve. And it's got the date stamp, but the date stamp doesn't have any ink in it.
There we go.
And then I don't know if it'll be able to be seen on the camera, but the date stamp also pressed hard enough that you can see it through the back of the card.
Was it hard to find a sleeve that you could fit the sealed pack into?
No, because it's not the sealed. When you fold the sealed pack, it just sort of acts sort of like a perfect fit. And then these are just clear, non-matte dragon shields, which I find are thick enough that I feel at least that they protect my cards, but you can still just take them out and show them without taking the cards out of the sleeve to see the misprints. So I've found that these work, and I didn't have a problem fitting the pack into the...
Seems like a nice arrangement.
Yeah, and this is the only one I have that's actually in one of the pre-release packs, but I feel that there's no particular reason to open it, and so it's not going to be opened.
Would you play with something like that, like in your deck?
I'm too much of a judge to want things of different thicknesses in my deck.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Square corners and crimps bother me enough being in my deck, and I want to remove them once I replace them all with cooler errors or just cooler worms. So I think I had it in my deck for a few minutes, and then I got the other one, because I think I had maybe an NFC instead, and then someone was trying to convince me to put that one, and then I got the other crimp one. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the crimp one, normal crimp. That's my compromise for that. So I think both of these are probably cooler soul swallowers than the crimp that I have in the deck, but I feel better
The one in the deck shuffles well.
The one in the deck because it shuffles better. This one I got from the same person I got the Mungo Wurm from. And this one is a Tempest Spined Worm, but it's definitely factory because it's got a sentry back. Stronghold. The thing that I meant to say and didn't say. So yes, this is a Stronghold Spined Worm, but it has a centered back, so that's really cool. I actually have 2 that I got together for 7th edition. These are Spined Worms in, I believe, Portuguese, I want to say.
Okay.
I thought it was Italian, but then I asked Filippo, and he said it wasn't Italian.
He'd know.
I'm fairly sure it's Portuguese. This one, I think, because it's more twisted, is a cooler card. But because I'm trying to get my deck completely clear what it is, and this one I can actually read the 5/4 and remember I can remember what the power toughness is supposed to be for my Spined Worm. I chose to put the less cool one in the deck, and someone's actually interested in this. So if I end up trading this one away, I'll just put the Stronghold one in the deck. But I like these. Isaac picked these up for me.
Okay.
And then these Spined Worms are my 8th edition ones. It's got sort of a connecting splotch thing across the bottom. Not splotch, really, I don't know what you'd call that.
Ryan was saying that's from dragging across something when the ink is wet, so.
It's got a white drag mark, I guess.
Yeah,
that sounds
we don't have a great name for it just yet.
Terrible.
But
drag mark, definitely.
we have to come up with a catchy name.
These I got at different times, and I just ended up with 4 of them. I didn't actively try to get 4 of them. I just ended up with it. I put them in my binder in decreasing order of magnitude.
Yeah.
So I'm not actively trying to get as many as I can, like Isaac is with that forest with the blotch on it. But
and this is the way they're printed too. The error starts bad and then it gets better as the ink goes away.
I'm sure there's more than 4 of these in existence if there's 4. So in theory, I could get more of them and just make more. But
you could run it all the way across all 8 slots there.
Or it would probably end up just being 2 lines. Because
it
would screw up my alphabetization if I did it your way. And then this Streetbreaker Worm is just off center. So if these were handed to me, I would take them, but I'm not going out of my way to get more of them.
Sure.
And then Tempting Worm has this, again, this is probably the same kind of drag mark as the 8th edition worms were in the previous page. And let's see, I got this weekend. This is a terrace worm with 4 square corners. So I think that's really nice. And then this trench worm. This trench worm is either just off center or showing the barest tiny millimeter of another card. I don't know, and honestly, it's one of those, if you can't see it with the naked eye, I don't really care.
Is it missing anything at the top?
Like, it goes right up against it, but I'm not sure if
Okay.
it's missing anything. Like,
So
as
we'd
I
have
said,
to look under magnification.
it's just not worth it to me to,
Yeah.
like, it's at least very off-center. If
Stuff like
nothing
that
else.
is really difficult for us to approve in the group. It's like,
I
is it
don't
miscut?
remember if I
it's
got
hard
this
to
in
tell.
the group or on eBay or somewhere, but whatever. It's in my collection. It doesn't have to be approved. I'm not getting rid of it, so it doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
Yep.
This is a crimped tunneler worm. And then, as I said, tunneler worm was the third one I have from that pre-con, where these are both identical errors. So this one has a centered tunneler worm, and then this one's got the back that matches that one. And then, let's see, we're on to the V's. This one is really odd. So this kind of goes with the super crimp greater sandworm as like a really weird crimp that I have. The crimp is on the corners, but not the middle of the top.
That is bizarre.
So that's, I don't know if it can be seen on the video, but yeah, it's just on the two corners.
I'll have to look at that later.
So that's one of the like kind of pieces in my collection.
Yeah.
This one, what do I have in the deck? Oh yeah, I got these together. I got these from the same person for the Mungo Worm and the not Tempest, the Stronghold.
Stronghold.
I don't know why I keep trying to say Tempest.
It's the same block.
Tempest is the little lightning bolt with the like.
Cloud,
I know
yeah.
what Tempest is. Tempest is what my segmented worm is from.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
I know it. I just keep wanting to say it. But anyway, these two I got together from the same person who sold me the other two. Except I thought this was cooler because it has a little bit of a power toughness box. So this
Yep.
one ended up in the deck, and the other one didn't because it's very visible. It's more visible to the naked eye than the crimp is. Even though the crimp is cooler, I think since I'm trying to avoid crimps whenever possible in the deck, I decided not to try to ruin my really bizarre crimp and
Sure.
instead to play the one where you could see the other card and it really pops. And then this one is an NFC, and then this one has a blotch that kind of goes like this, except it doesn't touch the artwork. It's just on the border and then the type line.
Yeah, only on that black layer.
So on that black layer, it's got a blotch. Or what is that? Oil slick? Or
Liquid. It's water is what
water?
it is, yeah.
And then this one has a different kind of blotchy thing. It's got like spots. It's got a big spot here and some spots over here. Again, this one actually is on the black and on the green. So I don't think it has texture. I don't know if maybe that's something that just got dropped on the card or something, but check it out later. But at least it looks cool.
Yeah.
And then this one, I think, is just off-center. Oh, this is centered back, off-center front. And then Vigor Spore Worm, I actually got a pretty cool error. On the front, it looks perfectly normal, but then you look on the back and, haha,
Oh, wow.
got a major back error
That's pretty
going
bold.
on here.
Yeah.
So maybe this is something dragged across the back of the card, or I don't know.
It looks like it, yeah.
So I actually have a connector to this, which is not a worm, which was in the deck for a while, but I'm going to sell it to somebody who collects back errors and
Okay.
will appreciate the other connector better.
You want that in your deck, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should probably put things in the right spots. The bright green sleeves do not belong in the binder.
Okay.
As you were correct in saying. The voracious worm is just off center, maybe a little bit twisted. This warping worm, centered back, miscut, or centered front, miscut back.
Okay.
This was in an eBay auction that Atan pointed out to me, where there was like 6 cards together. It was a Mirage lot, and showed like all of the cards on the back. Then it showed all of the cards on the back, and the 8th picture was finally the front of the cards, which were not actually listed anywhere in the name. It was just Mirage lot, and
Kinda
so
hard
I
to
would have
find.
never noticed that there was a worm in that if it hadn't been pointed out. So I'm really appreciative of
Yeah.
that one. Let's
It's good
see.
to have friends helping you out.
It does, who pay more attention to the contents of eBay lots than I do. So I've got sort of decent crimp on Waterworm, really light crimp on Waterworm.
Okay.
This is one of the Italian cards that looks like an artist proof, but isn't because they didn't make an artist proof for this set.
Pretty cool.
So this just doesn't have a back, but it is in fact a Waterworm on the front in Italian. And then this one shows another card. I could actually get another one of these that shows slightly less of another card, but I already had this error and they wanted more money than I wanted to pay because I already have the error, so I'm good with that.
Yep, you got the better one. So.
I got the better one. This one is just off center. No, this one actually is a centered back, off center front. For Wither Scale Wurm, World Spine Wurm is 2 square corners. Again, would love a better error of this card, but this is what I got so far, and how can I not put World Spine Wurm in my deck?
Yeah.
I mean, that card's great. Then we've got...
I don't play with many new cards, but I've played with that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. So then we've got just to the Wurm in the alphabetization, so that's where I put all my tokens.
Okay.
So we have, let's see. Technically, this goes in a farther place in the binder. I'll save that for later. We've got the 6/6 Wurm, showing another card.
Okay.
We have the 5/5 Wurm, showing another card in some other language that I don't actually know if it's like Spanish, Portuguese, Italian. It's one of them.
Okay.
This one I know is Chinese, though. This is showing another card at the top. Then...
Wait, is that Chinese or is that Korean?
That's
Chinese.
definitely Chinese.
Okay, yeah.
I took Japanese, and I can definitely tell Japanese, Chinese, and Korean apart. But Korean has more like circles in the
It
printing.
does. Yeah, I just couldn't see it through the camera
And then
lens as well.
Japanese has the hiragana and katakana. Since I can read hiragana and katakana, it makes it easy to distinguish between that. It also has a little the furigana at the top to teach kids how to read the kanji on the Japanese cards, but that's not something that is done in Chinese.
Isn't that interesting how we can spot those languages, but we can't spot the ones that use our own letters?
Well, yeah, I don't know what Travelgear, something like that.
Like, it's definitely Latin-based.
It's definitely a Latin-based language, and it's definitely a Wurm token, and it's definitely cool. So I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Then we have, these are also technically audio, I'll just do those later. Then we've got these, which are Wurm Coil tokens, which I got from Kevin Gardner at the last Misprint Con, and I love these things. They've got stuff on the front and back of the... So it's got this little plus sign thing on both sides. And then this one has this little, like, thing on the back. So I definitely love these tokens. These are my favorite of my Wurm Coil tokens. So these are the ones that live with the deck, because usually I don't need more than one of each when I'm playing, and if I do, I can just grab the binder. Let's see. Then we've got this Wurm Coil engine is from Scars and is crimped. Then this Wurm Coil token, the Death Touch token, is from Scars and is crimped. And then, let's see, this Wurm Coil engine has a big splotch here, which at first glance is hard to see, but it's definitely there.
Okay.
So it's got, like, it's over there on the art.
Okay, I can see it on the body right there pretty well.
So that is from Commander 14, and then these two are from Commander 14, and they've got connecting splotches on the bottom. So I've got Commander 14 splotch, Commander 14 token splotch. I've got Scars crimped, and then Death Touch Scars crimped. So now I just need Scars Lifelink token crimped. And then I will have like two matching sets. And then the two that I got from Kevin that I have are Commander Anthology with the like severely miscut. So my miscut is actually from Commander 14. So now I need a Commander Anthology that's like severely miscut. That'll have like sets of them that all go together. This is a Wurm Coil engine with a normal front, but it's got like a line across the back. Again, one of those drag lines. And then, I misalphabetized these. So this is the Wurm Coil engine I play in my deck, and this one is really bizarre. There was a lot of discussion actually this weekend where I was trying to get them to look under the microscope at this and try to like figure out what was wrong with it. And then there was, is it factory? Is it not factory? Is it damaged? Is it printed over? Like, what's going on with this card?
Right. There's going to be some big value differences between those answers. Yeah.
Because apparently they discovered that if you look at the border, which I don't feel like taking it completely out of the sleeve, apparently it's been inked like with a Sharpie on the border. And they were saying, well, that means that it's probably an like after factory like error, kind of not an error, but
at least the Sharpie is.
And then, but apparently Jason, upon like thoroughly looking at it, discovered that whatever this is, it's making it yellow and like doing this, and that all that is apparently under the clear coat.
Okay.
And I don't know specifically enough about microscopes and printing and all this to know exactly what all this means, but he said that it's under the clear coat, and that that means that it's an error, and that possibly, since we don't know exactly like its entire provenance, that possibly it was damaged to a point where the border looked weird, and maybe someone wanted
And
to
then
play it in the
someone inked
tournament
it.
and decided to Sharpie it
Sure.
to make it look better
Yep.
or something. So I don't know, but apparently it's a factory error that also has some Sharpie around the edges.
So after the ink goes on, there's a clear wear coat to protect the ink.
Okay.
And so anything underneath that is obviously applied at the factory.
So I've had
And
two.
you can see whether it's under or over that wear coat by checking the way the light bounces off the surface.
Okay.
Because something that's on top of the surface of the wear coat will block the light from it.
Okay. So I've had two different people who are both well-respected misprint collectors and knowledgeable people about the printing process who have looked at this. I mean, I have more than that. Look at this weekend, but two have opinions of what happened.
Yeah.
And the two opinions that it seems to be is one person is convinced that the roller that prints the ink was cleaned just before this card was printed, and that the solvent had like stayed on the cleaning solvent had stayed on the roller and had sort of smudged the ink as it went through. Because we definitely looked through the microscope at it, and you can see that there's like the printer dots, and then there's like the ink from them are smudged
They're
out.
misshapen, yeah.
So, and then another of the collectors, their theory is that it's like ghost printed over, sort of like the Charlie Brown medallions,
Yeah.
where it wasn't cleaned properly and there's something else that got printed on top. So I don't know which of those this is, but it's a very bizarre card.
Okay.
And it's apparently definitely
it's
a factory
factory, yeah,
factory error. Not sure what that error is exactly, but it's factory.
That's what you needed to know.
So, so yeah, that's the worm coil page, kind of out of order. But then we've got the Yavamaya page. Or did I miss the? Oh, I missed Worm's Tooth. Worm's Tooth. What's it called? Non-factory. This one is a weird corner in the top, and then I've got this one which has blue ink.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And the blue ink error, every once in a while on eBay you find them. It seems to be a very common error in M12. Actually, I don't know if it's just M12. It's definitely on Worm's Tooth you find this blue ink error like a lot. And this is the first one I found and the first one I got. And every time I see another one, I compare it to this one, and I have never found another one that is worse.
Darker.
That's darker blue ink and more blue ink than this one. So since it's not actually a worm, it's just like has a worm in the name. I just never felt the need to get like 50 million of the blue ink Worm's Tooth.
Yeah.
If I found one that was significantly darker
You'd pick
or
that up.
something, I would pick it up, but I don't feel the need. So other people can get their hands on them.
Sure.
But they're pretty easy to find. There might be one on eBay now.
To a certain extent, we can all share.
Exactly. I don't need all of that particular error. Okay, so then Yalthamaya worms. This one I think is cool. This one's actually cut through the name, so I mean they're still in sleeves, but like you can.
And they connect.
Oh, with this clear sleeves, I can actually do
yeah.
that. Yeah, it connects and it's cut directly through the name.
That's cool.
So I like those. For some reason, this one doesn't mess up my alphabetization process as much as the Charnel worm at the beginning. Probably because it's under Y and there's not much after it. Actually, I don't think there's anything after it. It's just Yavamaya worms from here on. Then this is the same error, except obviously it's showing the whole name on the bottom and I don't have the connector. Then this one is really cool. This is my vertical crimp.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this one's crimped down the middle.
Those are pretty hard to find.
It's got the front and back, so I was happy to find that. So this one, the Vasswood Gorger with the 2-corner crimp, and then the Sill Swallower that's fully crimped and cut off, and then the Greater Sandworm with like the super crimp. Those are my crimp collection.
Major crimps,
my major crimp collection. Then this one is again a minor crimp that seems to have been damaged.
Okay.
But it's still crimped. And then so these, let me just grab this, actually are from a pre-con deck where I actually, you can tell it's a pre-con especially because this is a common here. You can see the end of the common one and that's an uncommon.
Okay, yeah.
And they're clearly on the same sheet.
Right.
But yeah,
And they do that in pre-constructed decks.
this is definitely a pre-con.
Yep.
Because I actually bought this entire deck.
Oh, okay.
From the person and then pieced it out and managed to keep my 3 Yavamaya worms of 4 cards
The
here.
ones you wanted, yeah.
Plus the Defense of the Heart and the Rancor from that. And I got to keep those and not pay any money for them because I pieced out the deck and got
As a
So
judge, it's
I was
pretty cool
happy
that you
for
get to go to so many events because you can pick stuff up from all over the place.
I didn't get this one from an event though. I got this deck actually 2 years ago. There was a post on the Misprint group where somebody had posted a sort of potato picture of the whole deck laid out, and it's like clearly very miscut. You can see the 3 Alpha Maya Worms, and I was like, "How much for those? Like, do you still have this deck?" He's like, "Yeah, I never sold it. I still have it." I was like, "How much for this?" Like, I'm not piecing it out, which is what he said originally.
Sure.
Also, he's like, "But I'll sell the whole thing for a significant offer." So I calculated what I thought it was worth, and then made him an offer, which he accepted, and then I bought the whole deck. So I still at home have the non-misprinted cards. There's like most of the lands, sadly, were not actually misprinted, only a few of them. But 2 Mother of Ruins were in there. Like, there was some nice stuff that I sold recently, and so I think I made a lot of misprint collectors pretty happy with.
They finally became
with
available.
The ones that were there, because in the original post, a lot of people wanted individual cards, but he could get them because he didn't want to piece the deck out.
Yep.
So
no one wanted to buy the whole deck.
Really
so.
happy, or at least not for the price that he wanted.
Yeah.
But I was really happy with that. Then let's see, and then the newer printing of Yavimaya Wurm. This one is showing a tiny sliver of another card, but at least tiny enough, big enough you could see it with the naked eye.
Okay.
It's clearly a blue sliver down there. And then this one is missing ink. There was some question about whether this was sun faded, but upon looking in the microscope, they being like Jason and Pi and stuff, like, they're fairly sure that this is a factory error. And if not, I didn't pay that much for it, but it's likely a factory errör. And then this one is NFC.
If they said it was, it probably is. So.
Well, they said they weren't sure.
Oh, they said they weren't sure.
They said they weren't sure, but they're leaning towards factory.
Okay.
So, and then this is the NFCs. I put the NFCs usually at the back, the end of my column of whatever card it is. Then we've got some extra room for new stuff, and then we go to. Here we go. I decided to be optimistic and to have a whole page for playtest cards and a whole page for test print cards. My playtest at the beginning of the weekend had 2 cards on it, and now it has 5 cards.
That's a huge improvement.
It's very, and there's another one that this camera operator here has that hopefully will be added to the collection by the end of today.
Yep.
That is my hope. So this one, I put these are the ones that apparently, or these 2 are the ones that apparently led to Jungle Wurm.
Yep.
And so this one is Summon Dragon, but it's a worm, and it's a blank back. Mm-hmm. So let me actually get Jungle Wurm out, and then I can compare them.
It's neat to see the evolution like that.
Yeah. Okay, so Jungle Wurm costs 5, and it's a 5/5, and for each creature assigned to block it beyond the first, it gets -1/-1 till end of turn. So this one also costs 5, except it's 4 and 1 rather than 3 and 2. And then it must block attacking creatures with the greatest power that the worm is capable of blocking. I don't know what that the worm is capable of blocking means, but that I guess that's
something without flying.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. Okay. So and it was a 5/4, and it became a 5/5. And then this iteration of it has Magic the Menagerie on the back. And then this one also says Wurm Summon Dragon. It also costs 4 and a green. It has the same text here. This one has evolved into a 6/4, which is not what Jungle Wurm ended up as. The third one that I might pick up later is a Duskwood Wurm playtest card, which I do not remember the specifics of, but apparently it goes between these 2 in the binder and will get put there later. This one's a Scaled Wurm from Ice Age. This one I believe is white-backed. This one, for some reason, this sleeve is slightly bigger than the clear one, so I couldn't fit it in the clear one, but I could fit it nicely in this one, so this one lives in a black sleeve now. Spiked Wurm, I believe is a Portal playtest card. There is no Spiked Wurm in Magic. There's also no Duskwood Wurm in Magic.
There's a Wurm in Portal, though, right?
In Portal, there's
2 of them, I think.
Spine Wurm, maybe? There's definitely a Wurm in Portal.
Was that hard to get?
The Spiked Wurm? There was a seller on the Misprint group who listed it for possible future sale, or definite future sale, and that was like 2 years ago. And then it took a while, but I got it this weekend. So, yeah, there's that. This one is my example of a playtest card that's on a worm. So Scaled Wurm is actually the card behind it.
Cool.
I could probably get a bunch more of these that were just put on random worms.
Yep.
Mostly scaled worms, probably. I don't feel the need to get a bunch of that particular error. I'll get a bunch of them if they are like our worms, but I think one that represents it's on a worm card is enough. If there was like a spiked worm on a worm card, that would be awesome, but I have not seen one of those as of yet. But sets are still being made, so maybe.
Maybe.
Apparently they put them on basic lands now, so maybe not. I don't know. And then here's my one test print card of the moment. This one has a magic back and is, a lot of people are familiar with the Drudge Swamps, the Drudge Skeleton Swamps. Mm-hmm. This is a Drudge Skeleton Crawworm.
That's pretty awesome.
So apparently I found out this weekend things that I did not know before, which is that this actually has 3 possible printings for each art. And so now I didn't realize before that I was looking for one that had no text except saying test printing in the box. Is that correct?
Yep.
With this art and the other, what was the other one?
The other one has no text at all.
And then no text at all. So I will be on the lookout for those going forward in the future because I did not know they existed before.
Yep.
Other ones that are test prints that I know that they exist but do not currently have in my collection that I'm on the lookout for is the Spined Worm Specimen card, which I have a lead on a way of getting it, so we're working on that now. Some people might have seen my post recently about looking for a specimen card. And then also I've been shown some gorgeous scaled worm both foil and non-foil test prints, which I've been told there are multiple copies out there, though I don't know if they'll ever go on the market.
Yeah.
So that's, pipe dream future, maybe.
I'm confident there's multiple copies. Those are the only ones I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've seen them multiple times in the past, like before I had them. But
So it's possible I might get them, but seems somewhat unlikely at the moment, but possible. I'm sure there's more test prints with worms on them, but I don't know what they are, and I don't know. So if anyone knows of them, let me know so that I at least know what I'd be looking for.
Sure.
So as the higher end things for my collection, finding those test prints and finding the other like double backed and what do you call it when 2 cards printed over each other, but one's on the back of a magic card? Double fronted? Like,
I guess.
Double printed means something different.
Double printed it means several different things, and that's a problem. We got to work on that. Yeah.
So, and then I've got.
Wow.
Let's see, one of each of these mini cards. They actually have magic backs, including the token. Well, I mean, the actual token of this particular Player Rewards Odyssey token actually has a magic back also. Huh. But so these are from a mini magic card proposal that was given to Wizards and then not adopted and not actually made. So there's only those decks. They were given to me with this card, which I believe is the person who did that pitch meeting.
Yep.
And so was able to that authenticates the fact that these are legit magic cards, sort of.
They came from a Wizards of the Coast employee.
Wizards of the Coast employee. This is my summer crawworm. It looks like a normal crawworm. It's summer.
But it's summer. It has the big 1994 date at the bottom and a really dark text box that's hard to read.
Yes. And then I also have some Worm Beast tokens. These are because in Italy, for some reason, when they printed, M13 Beast tokens, they all have Worm at the top.
Okay.
So they are my Worm Beasts, and I put a Terrastodon in my deck, so now I needed 3 of them, so I wanted one for Beast Within, but Terrastodon technically makes elephants, but whatever, when I destroy people's permanents, I can give them Worm Beasts to use.
Yeah.
And they're sort of like elephants. They're not.
They're 3/3s, right?
And then these are, they're the same color and same power toughness. So this page, this is where the Worm Beasts go. This page is the, I guess, common errors that Spanish Worm Calling has kicker instead of buyback. This one, Barbback Worm, I want to say, has, I think this is Spanish, Portuguese, I don't know, one of those languages. It's missing the word green in here. I don't know what it's actually exactly supposed to say, but it's supposed to have something where like blocking green creatures, and it doesn't have the word green.
Okay.
This Jotel Worm is German, except it says Summon Worm in English.
Okay.
Not sure why, but
I've seen that mistake on some other cards.
this one, this particular printing of this other Jotal Wurm, the drop shadow on the type line is off.
Okay. And that's a 5th edition expansion symbol also, which is only printed in that language.
And then this is a 5th edition expansion symbol, which is just here because it's a 5th edition expansion symbol.
Yep.
And then this is an alt 4th.
Okay.
So these are things that are just like entire print run, but they're not really.
They're not super rare because
they're
they
not
affect
super
the whole
rare.
print run.
They're not factory errors. They're file
design errors.
Yeah, design errors.
Pre-production.
So this is a separate thing to me. These are not really what I collect, but
These
if
are
I
mistakes made
acquire
by humans
them,
instead of mistakes made by machines.
yeah, which also are run by humans. But
Yeah.
these are ones that I don't actively collect. But if someone gives me one and tells me what's wrong with it, I'll stick it on the page.
Yep.
And then this one's definitely Wurm art. There's nothing wrong with this card. It's definitely Wurm art, but it's attrition. It doesn't say Wurm in any of the spaces, the name, the type line, or the rules text, but it's from the story. The art is from the story where the Planeswalkers fight the sandworms, so it's absolutely 100% Wurm.
Definitely.
So I didn't have anywhere else to put it, so I stuck it here.
Might even be a sandworm.
It's probably a sandworm. This one and this one are both collector's edition. They're not misprinted, they're just collector's edition.
Okay.
And this is a worm coil engine that I found existed recently, and I was like, oh, I need that. So I think this is a player's reward thing. These are joke things. This one's signed by Kevin.
Oh, that's cool.
This is my Misprint Con Columbus badge. And then these are for a Judge Secret Santa. A judge is an altruist and got my name and altered one of each basic land with a worm in it for me.
Okay.
So they're not misprinted, they're just cool.
Yeah.
And then I have some Pokemon misprints.
All right.
That's not really. So yeah.
Okay, we're back. I just wanted to show you a few more things that we were talking about in the video here. So here's the Duskwood Wurm, and that's the one that comes after these. And it turned into the Jungle Wurm, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this turned into a 5/4 again.
Okay.
And
It
isn't
ended
the Jungle
up
Wurm a
as
5/5?
5/5.
Yeah. Yep, so
But
the casting cost changed a bit.
It went to 4 GG, which makes 6, so it ended up being 3 GG.
Okay.
So it kind of went from 4G to 4 GG to 3 GG. So I guess they decided this was too easy to cast and that was too hard to cast.
Yep.
So they decided to keep the double green, but then to dial it back to only 3.
So that'll be joining the collection momentarily.
Hopefully, yes, once we've agreed on a price.
And then over here with the test prints, we mentioned that there was a version that didn't have any text and a version with test printing. Those would look like that, except with crawlworm artwork. And then here's a foil test print.
I'm
and
sorry,
a
let me wipe the
non-foil.
drool off of these cards that suddenly appeared because, like, look how pretty this is. Like, this one's gorgeous, this one's, like, beyond gorgeous.
And they are white-backed, both of them.
So see, the way that the binder page should be organized is like this. And then we can have these just like this, and then we can have my specimen card over here, and then it'll be beautiful. They just belong here. So
Chronologically, it would be this one, and then this one, and that one would go here.
Really?
Does it matter to you? How would you do it?
I mean, more text, even less text. I would either do 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I guess if it's chronologically the other way, then I didn't know that.
I mean,
so that's
you're
more information.
alphabetically instead of chronologically, so we just organize different.
Right, but there's no I'm not alphabetizing these. Like for these, I'm doing it chronologically as like evolution of set. So the play test I'm doing as much as I can. I'm doing chronologically from beginning of Magic to current as much as possible. With this one at the end, just because it's not actually a worm, so it gets on the end of the list.
Okay. Yep.
So far, these are how they are. Then all these 3 will get shifted one down so that this can go over here.
Is the specimen card before or after this? It's a modern card, or I can't remember.
Well, the test prints, I honestly was just sticking on a page. I wasn't specifically doing chronologically, but it's a...
Well, hopefully you'll get multiple at some point, and then you'll have to make that decision.
It's a Tempest card. Or it's not a Tempest card. It's a Stronghold card.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
still not
it's that
Tempest.
set. So Stronghold's definitely before
it's a
these.
Stronghold
so.
card. I don't think it was out of Stronghold packs. It was on the group. Alexis was telling me about some of
have
the
to remember,
stuff.
yeah.
And it's something about it was in some kind of Chinese packs.
I get it mixed up with the number cards, but yeah, I think it came out of some Chinese packs
Some
out of a
Chinese
shop in
packs,
Tennessee.
But I don't know about Tennessee specifically, but it was out of some kind of Chinese packs, but I don't know if it was the same time period as Stronghold or if it was like afterwards and it just happened to have Stronghold or like.
Okay, I could be thinking of
but
the numbered cards, so I have to review.
I don't know. Numbered cards by definition don't have worms on them and so will
Yeah.
not be represented in my collection.
All right.
Unless I somehow branch out from worms, but who knows?
All right.
But yeah, these will be organized in some fashion, and then other things. But I would definitely want these two if I got them together, and then I would want these three if I got them all together.
Together, yeah.
So in some way, I was just gonna put the specimen card here because I wouldn't want these on two different rows, so then it would make the row complete, and then like that was my thought process
So far as I'm aware, no one has all three versions
of the same.
of the same artwork.
Really?
Yeah. I have these two on a few of them, but these are extremely rare.
Okay. Well, I didn't know all three existed until yesterday.
Yeah.
So now that I know they exist, I'm more likely to look out for them.
I mean, these are very rare. These are very hard to find.
Like it's
These
hard
are,
to
like-
consider these drudge skeletons because they don't actually say drudge skeleton anywhere on them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have even thought that that was part of the same thing. But now I know. So, knowing is half the battle.
Sure.
The other half is doing.
All right, I guess we'll wrap it up and we'll work on adding this to her collection.
Yep.